In the winter of 2021, we bought a paint and carpet rehab from a man that was tired of not getting rent. From his daughter. I put on my coveralls for the initial walkthrough. That's a problem. The plan is simply to spruce the place up a bit. Maybe more than a bit. Finish out the garage space, making it into a bedroom. Keeping the sweet stereo gear. Yes, I did step on that bed to put the camera behind it for this shot. We'll head to the backyard, but I mean, overall, it's kind of a minor trash house. So it's a big trash out and a mid-level rehab. Not exactly a paint and carpet, but not too bad. You find interesting things in rehab sometimes, like cars and guns. And sometimes the daughter shows up and takes all the appliances and the water heater when you've already bought the house from them and she wasn't supposed to. We're not done yet. There's one more place that I tend to go at the end of the job, and I don't want to go there. This video is brought to you by Nashville Money Guys. It's a company that I'm a part owner of. We're a hard money lending company based out of Nashville, Tennessee. If you are new and you are looking to flip a house, often finding money is an extremely difficult and intimidating part of it. And if you find a good deal, we've got you covered. Check us out at NashvilleMoneyGuys.com. One of the first things is do not start with a monster rehab. Like if you walk into a house and you go, oh my gosh, this is disgusting. This house is a teardown. Don't start with that one. It's too much risk unless it was like a family friend or like a hoarding situation where it just happened to be your neighbor and they gave you the house as they passed away. Don't start there. It's too much risk. Like walk before you run, and a monster scary rehab only goes one way. You only go over budget. There are no monster rehabs that have pleasant surprises where you magically just spent $50,000 less than you thought you were going to. Monster rehab is defined as you walk in and you go, ooh, this is disgusting and it should be torn down. The second is undulating floors. The house is built over 100 years ago, maybe even over like 70 years ago, 1940s, 1950s, 80 years ago. Like you're getting into stuff where the construction techniques are not remotely the same as they are now. 2 holes in outlets instead of 3, where you know you're going to have to do a full electric overhaul on the house. It just gets super expensive and it's really hard to estimate one of those things unless you can seriously budget. Just tear everything out, get it back to the studs, redoing a bunch of termite damage and water damage and stuff that you can't see upon the initial inspection. Trust me, it's just not worth the risk for your first go out. So monster rehabs, don't do them to start. Before you start going and looking at houses, you want to go online and you want to find some sort of estimating software. There's plenty of free programs and then there's probably some that are cheap, but all you want is something that provides a list that is a thorough list of items that are in a house, like roof, fascia, soffits, gutters, brick, siding, windows. I'm literally just kind of going through things on the outside of a house. Doors, doorknobs, all those types of things that they individually break them down into a category where you go in and you just read down the list. Roof, does it need a new roof? Yes, it does look like it needs a new roof. How do you know? Does the roof look like it needs to be replaced? Are there holes in it? Are there shingles that are popping up? There are some really basic things that people can generally kind of go, yeah, that roof does look kind of old. I would probably want to replace it if it were on my house. So go with that intuition, and then maybe you put that down, and then a contractor goes out and looks at it and goes, I think you can get away without doing a roof. That would be lucky. So find this estimating software, and then be thorough as you're walking through the house. Be ultra thorough, because you do not get to tell the house what it requires to be rehabbed. That's what we see a lot is, I've got a $20,000 rehab budget. Okay, what does the house actually require that you put into it to bring it up to a standard of the list price that you actually want to sell it at, or the quality of a rental that you want to keep? So you don't get to decide. The house tells you. You can choose to ignore it, or you can choose to budget correctly based on what the house is telling you. Check everything, every square footage of the entire house. Look in the cabinets, run the sink, flush the toilets, turn on and off all the lights. Go in the attic, go in the entire attic. Go in the crawl space, go in the entire crawl space. And that's a tough one. Going in the whole crawl space, like literally you're having to dress appropriately to go in there, because what if there's water? What if there's poop? Like that happens on a rehab. Like you may get down there and be like, what if there's a dead animal? What if there's a live animal? I've had that happen a couple of times. Cats get into the HVAC system. Yeah, that's exciting. As you're walking around with the estimating software that you've got, and they probably make some like a mobile app that would go on your phone. If I can find some, I'll put them in the description below. As you're walking around, take videos and pictures of everything so that you can reference back to it. You know what? Did those countertop need to be replaced? Like, was the edging bad on the countertops? Let's go look at the video and go slow. When you're walking through with the video, go slow so that you can actually reference back. Like, don't do this as you're going room from room. Go slow. Seems like common sense, but it's going to feel awkward when you're actually doing it in the house. And if the realtor wants to be with you, tell the realtor ahead of time, hey, I'm probably going to be in this house for a couple of hours because I'm going to do a very thorough inspection before I decide if I want to make an offer on the house. Buy them a coffee, let them sit in the car and do paperwork, whatever it is, but just warn them beforehand. Bring a measuring tape and a flashlight. Literally measure the spaces, because how are you going to estimate how much tile needs to be replaced in the bathroom unless you actually measure? You can choose not to do it, but you're just taking a risk. How many square feet of hardwood flooring are in the place that need to be redone? If you can tell the hardwood floor guy ahead of time, I have 1,150 square feet of hardwood floors that need to be done in here. Can you give me a ballpark? They'll be able to give you a ballpark estimate if nothing else is wrong, and bingo, you've got a relatively hard number that you can put in the budget, and you're off and running. That's one thing to check off the list. If you're going to be in that crawl space, you want your phone to be able to record video and take pictures, so bring a flashlight. A headlamp is super handy. You can pick them up anywhere for like $10, $15, $20. The headlamp is handy because then as you're crawling around in the poo in the crawl space, using your hands on the crawl space floor, you've got the light up here, and then you can use your cell phone to video in the other hand. Unless you're related to a contractor or married to one, or like they owe you a huge favor, don't bring contractors out when you're just looking at a house. They may go on one or two with you, but then they're going to stop, and they're never going to take you seriously. What they want is they want somebody who has done the time on the front end to understand the scope of work that they want replaced. I have 5 ceiling fans. I have 14 doorknobs. I have 60 square feet of floor tile. I have 2 tub enclosures. If you can give them a scope that's that detailed, that's going to prove that you're a pro already off the bat. Even you can tell them, this is my first one, but here's the information that I have for you. Can you look over this scope? And then are you willing to meet me at the house to actually go through it and make sure that I didn't miss anything? And they will be willing to meet you if you're that serious and that professional. Experiment with the software on your own house or apartment. And it sounds kind of silly, but literally, like, you live in a place now, you live in your mom's basement, Go measure the entire house. Get the software out and practice with it. Measure the floors. How long is the countertop? How many square feet is that countertop? How many square feet of backsplash? How many faucets? How many ceiling fans? How many light fixtures need to be changed? How many outlets? How many outlets in the whole house? Because that's one of those things that people forget to budget, and then all of a sudden they get a $1,500 bill from the electrician because they just asked you, hey, do you want to go ahead and replace the plates and switches while we're here? And you go, yeah, that sounds good. And then, bam, a magic $1,500 overage because you just kind of said, yeah, sure, that doesn't sound like it should be too expensive, but it kind of is sometimes. Once you feel fairly confident that this deal works based on these numbers, hire a home inspector before you actually close to make sure that you didn't miss anything. They may catch something that you didn't catch. And obviously, the more information that you can have on the front end, the better. They're generally between $300 and $600. The $600 guys, that seems very expensive. But I would bet that it could save you from a bad deal. Because if they're seeing something that you didn't realize was a fatal flaw of the house, like dry rot in the beams, where you just didn't reach up and grab a hold of one of those beams, and they know what dry rot looks like, and they grab one of those beams and they just break chunks of it off in their hand, they're going to be able to catch that stuff where you may not on your first rehabs. I mean, it really is relatively simple. It's hard, but it's simple. Measure all the individual things, break down all the individual items, and then plug it into the software, which is going to help you estimate what these costs are. Now, if you're wanting to do a higher end rehab where you know that $2 a square foot tile from Home Depot for the floors isn't going to work, and you're going to want something that's $7 or $8 a square foot for the material, you can go in and manually change those things based on the exit price of the house. But this is a great place to start. And again, what it's going to do is build your confidence at estimating what it's going to cost to rehab a house over time. The video that I'm showing you is a simple rehab that we did. It had a few little elements that were, a little bit bigger, a little more drywall here and there, a couple of things that we didn't expect, like when the previous owner came and took the water heater out. But overall, that's a paint and carpet. And obviously we're not using carpet anymore. It's the laminate vinyl plank flooring instead of carpet, but a relatively simple cleanup job. Packed dumpsters full of all the crap that was in the house in the backyard, and the house already instantly looked 100 times better than when we bought it. We literally painted the countertops, the laminate countertops that were there. We painted the existing cabinets. They didn't function great. Like, I'm not going to lie. We knew that we were exiting at a price that the people who wanted to buy it were going to take that kitchen out when they were ready. They were going to gut both of the bathrooms. Everything functioned, but the upgrades were going to come from the next owners of that house. Now, if I'm honest, this is a rehab that looks way better in the video than it does up close. The goal was never perfection with this house. Get in, clean it up, list it under market, and let somebody move in and take it the rest of the way. The bathrooms were virtually untouched, and nothing was fancy. Remember the bed? On to the next one. This one was not quite the same.